So, hi everybody, welcome back to Law Hero. My name is Jen, and if you are interested in learning about bits and pieces of the law every so often or intermittently, please subscribe and like this video. So today we're looking at the Internet of Things. So what might you say is the Internet of Things, whereby it's something you might come across every day and you probably didn't even realize it. So for example, if you have a smartwatch, that would be considered a thing through which the internet operates. It's basically an object through which Wi-Fi can be powered and reflects data. A few years ago, when Amazon started talking about their Internet of Things products, whereby you had little counters you could put on your fridge or around certain products in your house, whereby where they ran down, it would send through the Wi-Fi a message to Amazon to replenish or send you that particular product through the mail, which was revolutionary at the time, but now has become, quite an acceptable way for people's homes to operate. As you can probably tell, I have no idea how the technology works. I'm only impressed by it. What's important on this channel is that we try and understand how the law is grappling with these types of devices. There is no real law there at the moment. Like, obviously for health data, biometric data, you have certain provisions under GDPR, but for the devices themselves and how they're regulated, there's not any concrete law there. There is guidance, and we're going to go through that this evening, but there's nothing really concrete. In the US, they're actually quite far ahead with their Internet of Things law from the research I've done. So under GDPR, there's an Article 29 working party, and they provide kind of like soft law advice, and they look at challenges around kind of new technologies, and they kind of think of ways you can deal with them, and that kind of lays the basis for future regulation to come. So when they looked at Internet of Things, they found a number of challenges. For example, ensuring that users have sufficient control, as they cannot review the data before it's published. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to use Garmin Connect, which is the app I used for my biometric data, and that is true. When it's real-time data, we'll say if it's heart rate or if you're doing a certain exercise, all of that is saved under Garmin Connect. Now, you sign a lot of waivers as well for this, but it is true, you don't really have control over it. If you put on the watch and the app records it, that's it. You don't really have scope to edit it, especially not for heart rate. Obviously for individual workouts you do. The next one is automatic or default communication without the user being aware, and the difficulty in controlling the flow of data. Again, especially if you have a smartwatch, you might have noticed this. A lack of awareness by individuals other than the user of a device's enhanced capabilities and the quality of their consent. The insufficiency of classical consent mechanisms and the need for new methods of consent, because obviously if your personal data has been taken, you have to give free and informed consent, or fully informed consent, but a lot of the time it's not really spelt out what exactly you're giving over. And when it comes to biometric data, that's a special type of data around who you are, and that needs to be given even more protection, because were that information to go into the hands of somebody who wanted to, hurt you, or I don't know, whatever conceivable things you can do with people's health information, that's very sensitive private information. The risk of stakeholders processing data beyond the original specified purposes, particularly in light of advances in algorithms and analytical engines. Internet of Things device ability to determine the habits, behaviours and daily activities of individuals. And again, this is really true with these health monitors. They make assumptions sometimes about where you come in the percentile of people in your age. We'll say if it's your VO2 max, which is how quickly you can process oxygen through your blood, basically how fit you are. compared to other people. Now, obviously, they're only comparing you to the people who are signed up to the app, but it does make you wonder, you know, the transparency around this. Is it a correct measure? Could it lead to other kind of fallouts, you know, behaviors? Because some people might be very much led and said by what their watch is telling them. So for example, with a Garmin watch, if you do a workout, it'll tell you take 12 hours rest, and then, you know, you might get some psychosomatic issues if you don't take your 12 hours and you feel like you're going against the watch. And I always, when I talk to other athletes about this, we always say the same thing. Sometimes you need to leave the watch at home because it's talking too much. And I can only imagine in years to come, if this is the stage it's at now, where it's telling you to rest, or it's telling you your pulse is too high, it's monitoring your pulse at night time, it's telling you where your VO2 max is as regards people in your gender and your age. And yeah, the law isn't really ready for this. The limit on the ability to remain anonymous when using your Internet of Things device, the vulnerability of devices to re-identification attacks, where users can be identified by an unauthorized party, the risk of turning an everyday object into a privacy and information security target. I mean, when you think about, you know, if your Amazon counter in your fridge was hacked and somebody did know, you know, what sort of eating habits you had, and that could be used to exploit you. And people always use the example of Walmart, and they use vouchers to try and track people's behavior. And there was one example where Walmart knew a lady was pregnant before she had even told everybody, and had started giving her vouchers for like baby stuff like nappies and all that kind of stuff. And I think her husband saw and was like, "Are you pregnant?" And she hadn't even told him yet, because Walmart were able to tell by the difference in her eating habits and the trend her behavior took, and the difference between her being pregnant and not pregnant. They were able to use their algorithms to deduce that she was pregnant, and that truly is terrifying. And it was only based on her spending habits. So it's this kind of, it's a risk that it's something you do every day, but it's now being used by big data companies to manipulate you. And then finally, the battle between device battery efficiency and the security of communications, resulting in a lack of encrypted data flows. Okay, so I mean, these are pretty old recommendations. They come from 2014. So now we're just going to look real quickly at some of the issues that were raised. So for example, consent and opt-out. Is it easy and accessible to a user whereby they can decide, okay, I don't want this watch knowing my heart rate anymore, and I want to delete all of the records I've already created? It should be very easy for the consumer to do that. There shouldn't be lots of different barriers they have to go through. So that was one of the recommendations. The other one was data minimization. So we'll say, for example, your heart rate is being taken. You know, that's okay, you've consented to that, but we'll say it shouldn't tell you, it shouldn't also record where you stand as in health-wise as against your peers, because that's creating more data that you didn't ask for. You only wanted to know your heart rate, not how your heart rate scores as against the general population. That would be an example of the opposite of data minimization. Location. So lots of people are always shocked that when their location services are on, that their phones and that their devices have also been in those places. If you don't want anyone knowing your location, you need to turn it off. And if it's off, it shouldn't track your location. And if it does, that's going against your consent. The problem with all of these recommendations is that GDPR, for example, GDPR does help in that there should be like privacy by design, your data should be portable, and as I said, data minimization. The problem with GDPR is that it didn't comprehend devices operating autonomously, if you will. So they definitely won't be able to rely on GDPR at the rate that the IoT market is growing. And like, I would definitely say there is going to be some movement. Like the European Commission have already set up an Internet of Things. I'm just looking here. They have a strategy around it, and they've already set up like policies around it, and they have commissioned studies around it. So it's a real big project of the European Commission. So there probably will be some draft proposal regulations soon. The other interesting research I found was actually the definition of Internet of Thing, because thing can be literally anything. So a lot of the experts are saying that PCs, tablets and phones should be excluded, because they're used for a certain purpose, as in they are, they're connected to the internet, they can be made very secure, and you'd normally have a mobile number on a phone, and you'd normally have IP addresses if you use the internet on these, so the security is much stronger. So just from the what I've read, and I didn't know this myself, current Internet of Things usages are like your smart meter, so your wearable health and fit appliances, medical devices, connected appliances within the home, automated cars, drone technology, and they rely on radio frequency identification, RFID, Bluetooth radio protocols, LTE and Wi-Fi, and long-range technologies. The European Commission had a working document on the free flow of data, and in that they said that IoT products generally involve complex interdependencies between hardware, software, telecommunications networks and data distribution. The other problem, as I said, is your Internet of Things device being hacked. So that's a cybersecurity risk, and in the UK they actually have a code of practice for this. The other problem is the networks. Will the networks be able to handle all of these new devices coming on board and using Wi-Fi? I hope you enjoyed me talking about the Internet of Things. It's something I have to keep an eye on in the next few years. I find it very interesting. I think the law around this for companies who are coming up with this type of technology is just going to get even more complicated, but more than likely the European Commission will come out in something, because as the law stands at the moment, it's just not enough. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.